Well, good morning and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Las Vegas' Sunday morning service. My name is Reverend Laura Hallett, and it's my pleasure to be the spiritual leader of this wonderful community here in Southern Nevada. If you are joining us from somewhere else in the world today, we are so delighted to have you here with us. I just love the way that we can connect in consciousness through all of this amazing technology. I'd like to begin with a little gratitude. Just an expression of my deep thanks to our practitioners who give of themselves so lovingly in service. Today we have Judy Petit, who brought us the beautiful meditation and invocation that really set the tone for our time together. Holding high watch for us today are Bobby Williams and Fran Peterson. Thank you all for the dedication and the consciousness that you bring to all that you do. I want to thank our amazing music team led by Justin Vogel, who is our featured artist for the day. Along with David Viella and Melissa Allen, we are so blessed to have the music and the talent that these beautiful individuals bring to us. They really set that spiritual soundscape for us each week. And thanks to our media team led by Joe Blum for all the technical support that bring us such high quality and professional videos each week for our services. Along with that, I'd like to thank the multitude of volunteers who make this community work, our practitioners, our leadership council, our service teams. All of them give themselves so lovingly in service to our community, and truly, truly, we are blessed by their gifts. So here at Centers for Spiritual Living, we are working with the global theme of living everyday wonder. And it is through our exploration of each month's topic that we look at a different area of our life, a different structure in our life, and see how we can begin to build a greater sense of wonder, of joy, of absolute awe in our lives. For this month, for the month of March, we are starting a new topic of play. This month's theme gives us an opportunity to look at the lighter side of spirituality. You know, we often think that spirituality and connecting with the divine are very, very serious endeavors. And we sometimes forget that God is right there in the play too. I like to start each week by going back to our principles, going back to what it is we really believe. The principle that we are working with this month as we explore the topic of play is from our Declaration of Principles. It states, "We believe that heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it." Heaven is within us and we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. You know, it is through our play that we can experience heaven within. It is through our play that we experience more joy, more wonder, and a deep connection with the divine. And so, starting for this month of May, this topic of play, the title for this week is Playing Twister with God. Now, I have to tell you, when I first saw the title of this talk, I said to myself, there is no way I am using that title. I mean, come on, Playing Twister with God? Who in the world thought this up? In fact, I even called my dear friend Reverend Jeffrey Ryan, who is the chair of the theme committee for Centers for Spiritual Living, and asked him that very question. I was immediately reminded that in those uncomfortable moments when I get stuck playing this game, it just took me right back to being a child, and I could recall the difficult times I had playing this game and the uncomfortable feelings that went along with it. I mean, really, give me a good old board game any day, but Twister? Couldn't we have been playing checkers with God instead? Now, I know that I am not one who shies away from uncomfortable situations anymore in my life. I face things head on. And I know that when I have a strong reaction to something that is presented to me, to a strong reaction to anything that's occurring in my life, there is always something for me to look at there. And I am truly committed to looking at things and facing them head on. I'm always willing to look at my stuff and to go deep with where it takes me. So here we are this week, playing Twister with God. Now, for those of you that have never played Twister before or can't remember how the game goes, it's a game you play with your bodies on a vinyl mat that has rows of colored dots. You spin a wheel, and on the wheel there are dots and body parts. So it will say something like yellow and left hand, or red and right foot. And so you have to put that part of your body onto that particular colored dot. The goal of the game is to be able to find a dot with the correct body part without letting any other body part touch the ground, without falling down, without slipping off the mat or in some other way injuring yourself. You lose the game when you fall, and the winner is the one who completes all the moves without breaking any of those rules. Now, in order to play Twister successfully, there are certain things that you have to be willing to do. First off, you have to engage with your entire being in the act of playing Twister. It is physical. At times you are balancing on one hand and one foot with your back arched in and your derriere in the air. It is completely mental. You are trying to outwit your opponent and find the spot that is perfect for you that also forces them into a disadvantaged situation. And like most games of competition, it can be quite emotional. It is almost impossible not to find yourself laughing hysterically as you contort your body into these many different positions. Physical, mental, spiritual, full body game. It is a game where you have to set aside a lot of your inhibitions. It's a game where you have to be willing to look foolish in pursuit of your goal. In Twister, you have to be willing to get up close and personal with other people. There is no safe distance in Twister. No personal space. In Twister, you are likely to find yourself with your head under someone else's leg and your nose in their armpit. That's just the nature of the game. It is intimate, to say the least. And finally, when you're playing Twister, you have to be willing to not take it too seriously, to look for the fun and to look for the joy in the experience. Now, how is this like being in a relationship with the divine? Getting to know the indwelling presence is a full body experience. There's an intellectual pursuit that we have to engage in just to understand the basics of it. All of the study, the reading, the comprehension of the nature of God, it's critical to begin to understand how it functions and our relationship with it. There are tangible physical feelings we get when we know that it is working through us. There are those moments when we've been touched so deeply by an experience that we've had that we can actually feel it in our bodies. And there are those moments when we feel like we've been slapped upside the head by a 2x4, as we have taken some kind of spiritual awakening. We've had some kind of spiritual awakening happening to us, and it is truly body jarring when it happens. And there's, of course, a wide range of emotions that go along with cultivating a relationship with God. Anything from anger to wonder and everything in between. Having a rich and deep connection with the divine can spontaneously bring us to tears or make us sing out with the deepest joy possible. The moments when we are so connected that it is a palpable feeling within us. We are so touched by what is happening in us right then that we can feel it. It's tangible. There are times when we see it in nature, or we see it through the eyes of a loved one, and these times can bring us right to our knees. And like in Twister, we are developing a relationship with the divine that requires us to be willing to set aside our inhibitions, our reservations, our doubts, and our fears. Sometimes we succeed spectacularly, and sometimes we fall flat on our face. And there is always the possibility that we will look very foolish while we are doing it. When we play Twister, we intertwine and we find ourselves up close and personal with each other. There is no such thing as personal space when we're pursuing this relationship with God. Quite honestly, any sense of personal space flies out the window as you begin to understand the nature of this amazing indwelling presence. As we begin to understand that we are completely connected to the divine, that it is within us, that it is living through us, that it is showing up as us, then we lose any sense of it and us. We begin to have that as experience, that oneness, that true unified consciousness. You know, I love the statement that I read several years ago that it goes something like this: God knew your face long before your grandmother was born. There is something within us that has always known exactly who we are, that has always known us intimately and personally. And there is no way that we can hide from that indwelling presence. There's no hiding from Spirit. It knows us intimately. It always does. It knows everything about us. And it loves us unconditionally. This up close and personal is a constant state of being. And there is no way to avoid it. Now, being in relationship with God is not a part-time thing. As in playing the game of Twister, it's not something you can do halfway. It requires commitment, complete commitment. Not the kind of a commitment that says, oh, I'll do it as long as it feels okay. Or I'll do it as long as I'm getting something out of it. It requires a commitment that says, I'm all in. In Twister, it's really important to make sure that your feet are firmly planted on the ground. Otherwise, you're going to slip and fall very easily. It is very important that you build a strong foundation in your body, that you ground yourself in a position that you can maintain and keep you able to move into other positions. It's a way that we create our sense of balance and stability. We have to have this strong foundation in order to have balance and stability in our lives. Well, how do we do that in our relationship with God? How do we begin to build a firm foundation? How do we begin to find stability and balance as we move through our understanding of the nature of the divine and our relationship to it? Well, this is where we rely on our spiritual practices and our principles. We base our understanding of all of that on the study that we do, the books that we read, the experiences we've had in meditation and contemplation and prayer. We build a sense of stability as we embody a deeper understanding of what God is, of how it works, of where it is, what our relationship is to it. You know, there's no accident that we call our beginning classes foundational. We are building that stable base that we can actually then begin to get a deeper understanding of how it is, how God works. This is where we begin to understand our principles, understand our practices, understand what spiritual truth is, and what is really the nature of the divine. This is where we can create balance and harmony in our lives as we actively engage in our spiritual practices. And when we make them a significant part of our day, we make our practices an important and significant part of our day. When we practice them consistently and constantly and apply them to our situations, we build a stronger foundation. We prove the principles to ourselves through our practices. Now you may be thinking to yourself, well, this is all silly. What is learning about God, understanding this relationship we have with the divine, have anything to do with a silly child's game of Twister? You know, you may think to yourself, oh, wait a minute, I want to take my spirituality very seriously. I don't have time for all this play in my life. And there's certainly no time for play in developing a relationship with the divine. We take ourselves very seriously, and we take our spirituality very seriously, but we don't have to. It is proven throughout many of the faith traditions that being in joy, being in awe, laughing, and having fun with God is just as important as the serious work that we do. You know, one of my favorite things to collect is laughing Buddhas. I love fat, happy Buddhas. I can just look at them and they bring me joy. I can look at them and they actually make me laugh. I start laughing at myself. I start laughing at them. I begin to understand that there is a lightness and a joy that is actually spontaneously coming through in these little figurines that I have. You know, I love to do spiritual practices that engage me in creativity. I love finding new ways of connecting spiritually through that. I love coloring and drawing. I've tried laughing meditations. I even did ecstatic dancing. You know, really, who says that we can't have fun in our spiritual development? Certainly not our founder. Ernest Holmes writes in what's called the Ernest Holmes Papers, God sings all the songs, dances all the dances, paints all the pictures, creates all the art, writes every book, and plays every game. My invitation for you this week is to find little ways to play with God, to find ways to engage in spiritual connection that really spark joy inside of you. Find a new way to laugh. Find a way to experience a little more wonder in your life. Find a way to play and see how your life transforms. It is high and holy work that we are doing here, but it doesn't have to be serious. There can be joy, there can be laughter, there can be fun in everything that we do. So let's take a moment and anchor this in prayer. Our prayer is called spiritual mind treatment. It is a form of affirmative prayer, which we recognize the presence of the divine. We know that we are one with it. We speak spiritual truth. We give thanks and we let it go. So if you would, turn with me now in prayer. And so right here and right now, in this place of deep connection, this place of abiding peace, I sense and feel the presence of the divine. I know it as that unconditionally loving creator that has brought forth everything into existence. I know it as that infinite intelligence that knows exactly how to make the planets spin and the sun rise and set. I know it as that perfect peace that permeates every single situation, that is the very heart of our being. I know it as divine right action, perfect harmony and balance. I know it as joy and all the wondrous ways that we express that. And so knowing that God is all there is, that it is that indwelling presence in all creation, I know that I am one with it. I know that all that I am, all that I could ever be, is a unique and perfect emanation of the One, endowed with all that God is, with that love, peace, joy, perfection. And as I know this is true for me, I know this is true for everyone, that each one of us is perfect and unique, a vessel for the divine. And so I speak my word. I speak my word of joy, of laughter, of spontaneity, of play. I speak my word knowing that there is an infinite intelligence flowing through each one of us. Knowing that as we tap into it, we allow it to show up through us in exactly the way we need it to. And so those times of seriousness, we can find a lighter joy. We find those moments of laughter, of play. We allow this harmony of life to move through us, to show up as us, in all of its wonder, all of its joy, all of its grace. And I know that right here and right now, in all parts of this world, there is a perfect peace that is happening right now. It's a peace that allows for the end of all conflict. And just give thanks for this knowing. I'm so grateful to feel this. So grateful to see it operating in everyone around me. I'm so grateful to know that it is present and active in every single part of this entire universe. And so I just release this word. Knowing it is complete, I let it be. And so it is. Amen.